Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by gifts from Hush Blackwell, Bank of America, Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, Barbara and Peter Gattermeyer, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, our weekly food for thought fight over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon. The Ruckettes join me shortly, and our topics this week: the council's supermajority makes Mayor James super mad. A super battle in Westport pits personal safety versus civil rights. And it's one woman versus 21 men in the Kansas governor's race, plus roast and toast. But we start with our Newsmaker segment and talk with the newly elected mayor and CEO of the Unified Government of Kansas City, Kansas and Wyandotte County. David Alvey's biography describes him as a proud, unapologetic, fifth-generation Dot who comes from a long line of public servants. Alvey has most recently served as an at-large member of the Kansas City Board of Public Utilities. He will be the fourth person to serve as mayor since the city and county governments were consolidated 2 decades ago. Alvey defeated incumbent mayor Mark Holland in the recent election. As a Kansas City Kansan and Dot myself, I'm especially pleased to welcome David Alvey to Ruckus. Mr. Alvey, welcome and congratulations on your victory.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
And when will you take office?
It's January 8th, 6 o'clock at Memorial Hall. And in the great tradition of Memorial Hall, I think we should have a wrestling match after the inaugurations.
Will that event be open to the general public?
Yes, it will.
All right. As I mentioned in the introduction, consolidation is now 20 years old. Do you think it's working? Is it better than what we had before?
So I say certainly in many ways it is better. You know, insofar as we've realized efficiencies in services, that's important. I think we still have a long way to go in terms of fulfilling the promise of consolidation. You know, with the recent development that we've had in the past 20 years, we have to find a way for that development to be felt by residents in our neighborhoods. And if we can kind of heal that disconnect, I think we're going to go a long way to moving this forward.
You're talking about the need for East Side development and downtown development, something that every mayoral candidate has talked about for the past 30 years. What do you do to increase development in downtown and on the East Side?
So I think the first thing we have to continue to do is there are plenty of folks who live in these neighborhoods who have a feel, know what is needed in their neighborhoods, and we have to answer those needs. So for instance, you know, the question of a grocery store in the Northeast, that's just one, but that's a fundamental human need that we have to address. You know, when I was walking door to door during the campaign, it did occur to me that if I like to cook, and if I needed an onion to finish a recipe, and if I lived, let's say, 29th and Brown, where do I go to get that onion? Let's say I'm elderly, 6 o'clock in the evening, where do I go just to get something fundamental? We have to solve that problem. And
but you'd agree that development on the west side, the NASCAR track and all those things have been positive for Kansas City, Kansas.
Absolutely.
Your three predecessors, Carol Marinovich, Joe Reardon, and Mark Holland, all seem to be in basic accord on how government should operate and what the basics are. How do you differ from them philosophically?
Well, I don't know that I differ with them philosophically, but I think I demonstrated, it's on the Board of Public Utilities and then on the Economic Development and Finance Standing Committee, also on the Unified Government Planning and Zoning, that I understand that it's just about fulfilling the promise of government. The promise of government is to provide the services that residents need at the lowest burden to them. And if we take care of those fundamental promises, then we're going to see the kind of growth. We're going to keep residents. They're not going to feel a need to move out. One of the things that still, you know, bothers me is when I would come to someone's door and ask them for their vote, they would say, well, we're out of here. You know, the taxes, especially someone who has reached retirement, they've paid off their mortgage, their mortgage, they're not putting money into an escrow account to cover their taxes. Now they're getting the bill. It really hits them as a shock. They're looking 20 years out on fixed income, and they're questioning whether they can sustain
We're
that.
down to about a minute, so let me ask a couple of quick questions
Sure.
to get some quick answers from you. Will you try to get taxes lowered then?
Absolutely.
All right. The old Indian Springs Shopping Center is owned by the city now.
Correct.
It's been demolished. It's just rubble. What needs to go there?
So I think, again, we have to let the market drive that decision. You know, whatever is going, in my opinion, whatever is going to drive the most revenues for the city. We need to expand the tax base, bring the taxes so we can relieve the burden on the rest. That needs to go there. At the same time, revenues that are generated by any development there needs to fulfill community needs. And so there's areas just west of that site that we could bring redevelopment to serve needs of those who live right in that vicinity.
And your immediate predecessor wants a downtown health campus. Is that something you see in the future?
So I would not call it a healthy campus. I really am
An unhealthy campus?
No, but I think we need to focus in on, first of all, we want to provide a grocery store, and then the downtown Y, again,
so it's not the high priority at the moment.
It's going to be there.
All right, thank you very much for coming in.
you.
Again, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you, sir.
That is David Alvey, the new mayor of KCK and God's country, as we like to think of it. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus. Teresa Garza is a former member of the Jackson County Legislature. Patrick Toohey is Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute, a free market think tank. Patrick McInerney is a former prosecutor, now in private practice with Spencer Fain. And former talk show host Ron Freeman is now a motivational speaker and writer. Thanks to all of you for coming in. I know this is a busy time. Happy holidays. We'll see if we can get through this in 27 minutes or so.
Yeah. We're ready.
All right, you just can't make this stuff up. After an all-out campaign for years to build a new airport, the Kansas City City Council, after a public vote giving it authority to construct a $1 billion terminal, then votes 9-4 to stop negotiations with Edgemoor, the very firm they picked to build the airport, because they could not reach accord on a memorandum of understanding. This prompted a burst of vitriol from Mayor Sly James, who called the council's action a stain on the city, warning it sends a message to those who want to do business with Kansas City that we cannot be relied upon as a transparent partner. Apparently no one saw this coming, but after some reflection on the council's history, is it really so shocking, Patrick?
Well, this issue has certainly been snafu from the very, very beginning, so maybe it isn't too surprising, but I think the council was right. You know, we advocated leading up to November public vote that the people should vote no because they simply didn't know enough of the details. A month later, the Memorandum of Understanding comes to the council. 9 of them have questions. There isn't enough detail, and so they vote to reject it. Now they have the power. Edgemoor may come back with a better deal. But I am surprised that the mayor did not know that 9 of his council members were going to vote against this. That seems like political malpractice.
Patrick, from your background as an attorney and without specific reference to this matter, is it commonplace to have the MOU finished before you finalize the deal?
Well, I think that's the idea behind it, is that it's negotiated and becomes a final product. All that assumes good faith negotiation and disclosure and transparency. It's yet to be figured out what happened here, but yeah, that's the idea. And by way of full disclosure, my firm has a relationship with Edgemoor. So.
I should mention that we're taping this, as we always do, on Thursday morning, and the City Council meets later today and is expected to take some action regarding the airport. We don't know precisely what that action will be, so we're talking out without all the details, but I think the points still remain the same. Ron, the mayor said the council's action sends a message that Kansas City can't be relied upon as a transparent partner. Do you think that's the message it sends?
Oh, I think it's very accurate to say that, because there's zero confidence in City Hall, simply because we had this deal worked out, first of all, with Burns and Mack, and then that changed, and we got Edgemoor, and now it's, well, we don't know where do we go with this. There's no confidence in the leadership there at all.
And it appears Burns and Mack may be back in the picture because AECOM, the company that came in second after Edgemoor, has put together a deal with Burns and Mack and told the City Council, we have a team, we're ready to go if you dump Edgemoor.
Right. So now is Burns and Mack crafty enough to orchestrate this from the beginning? Because remember, Sly James presents this proposal, and Burns and Mack, that's it. That's who we're going to do it with. All of a sudden, they're out of the way. We take Edgemoor now. Could they get back in here? That would be interesting.
Teresa, what effect does this action have on the public's attitude toward local government? Does it cause people to have some doubts about the competence at City Hall?
It does. I mean, the fact that, well, and I'm going to agree with Patrick in the sense that there's been a lot of shenanigans since the beginning of this process. And that has been created problems all along. But the public did vote for a new airport. I think that's the bottom line. And how the city council gets there is really the question, whether it's with Edgemoor or whether it is with the other partners or the other groups that are presenting and wanting to be a part of it. So how they move forward is going to really be watched heavily by the public, because this is, eventually their tax dollars and their interest in the city.
Let me take advantage of the fact that you served on the Jackson County Legislature. The county government, the legislature overturned the county executive's budget and withdrew money for some of his key staff members. What is going on? What's going to happen there?
Well, at the end of the day, the county executive is the figurehead of county government, but he doesn't have a vote. So really the votes lie with the legislature. So the county executive can make a recommended budget, but that does not mean the county legislature has to adopt that recommended budget. They can go back and they can determine what they want to do with it based on priorities. I mean, their biggest complaint was that it was not going to be a balanced budget, that there was overspending versus the amount of money that's coming in. I wasn't part of this budget process, so I don't know what that looks like or what those conversations took place.
Did anything like this happen while you were on the
No, because I think
legislature?
It did not. But I think that's because it's really the county executive's office and the county legislature's office creating those compromises and working together to figure out what those priorities are. And it just seems to me, not being there, that did not happen.
But isn't that budget fight really a proxy for this larger fight between the legislature and the county executive, and the lack of control and the lack of accountability at the executive level?
Absolutely.
And the jail's another proxy fight for it, and really,
absolutely. And I think,
and you haven't seen any leadership coming from
and I think that's exactly
the
it.
executive.
And also, I mean, we kind of talked briefly before the show started about the fact that, like, the combat, that was moved from his budget a couple of months back, but initially the combat was under the prosecutor's office. It was never under the county executive office.
Right.
And so those types of things are happening again because of, power and who is leading.
They're showing them hardball politics.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Why are we surprised that city councils and county legislatures argue among themselves? That's why we have democracy. They're not supposed to get along.
Right.
They're supposed to fight this out. It shouldn't be a surprise.
That's why we have the various branches that
But at some
balance
point,
it
there's
out.
supposed to be resolution also.
There is, and it's not right, and
Yeah.
it's sausage at the end. But we're talking about the making right now.
All right.
Right.
The state of Kansas may come up short in some categories, but not in the number of gubernatorial candidates. There are now 22 in the mix, with the announcement of State Senator Laura Kelly of Topeka, the first woman to jump in. Kelly is a Democrat who's in agreement with the Kansas Party's major talking points: Medicaid expansion, more money for schools, and of course, repeal of Brownback-era tax cuts. In her announcement, Senator Kelly said, and I'm quoting now, "I simply cannot sit by and let the same Brownback allies who mismanaged our state lead Kansas for another 4 years. It is certainly possible for a female Democrat to become governor in Kansas. There have been two: Joan Finney, elected in 1990, Kathleen Sebelius in 2002 and 2006. Will Laura Kelly likely join this list in 2018, Mr. McInerney?
Not that this is a Me Too situation, but I mean, she is a righteous, qualified, highly qualified candidate, whether she's a woman or a man. And the fact, I think we're falling into that old math equation about, well, hey, she's a woman, so does she bring this many women, and how does that play out? I think we're past that.
Well, in this Me Too era, isn't that something to take into consideration?
Sure it is, but she's a qualified candidate, whether she's a man or a woman. She's got tremendous background. She's got good experience in the Senate. So I think, I think she's a very viable candidate. There's, with 21 other people in the race, the math gets really tough really fast.
Well, they're not all on the
21 of the
Democratic
22,
side. That's overall.
21 of the
Republican and
22 will
Democrat.
not be governor. We know that.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of what happens
There's
over the
the
next
math,
few
yeah.
months.
Right.
Ron, some analysts are saying that 2018 is going to be what is called a wave year, that it's already beginning. We're seeing Democrats taking control in various elections, and 2018 will be a year when legislatures fall to Democrats that are now Republican-controlled legislature. Do you see any merit to this kind of reasoning?
I think those are the same people that said Donald Trump would never be elected president. But you've got a lieutenant governor and a secretary of state who have statewide name ID, who've ran the campaigns. I don't think, unless Republicans have a complete bloodbath and fall into the trap where Lincoln said about our nation, where there's a house divided against itself cannot stand. Unless Republicans just really devour one another, no, she's not going to win that race.
We have an independent entering the Kansas gubernatorial race, Greg Orman, who ran for Senate as an independent in 2014 and lost. And Steve Rose has a column where he says it is possible that Greg Orman can be elected governor of Kansas. Do you buy into that, Patrick?
I think Democrats have a real problem in Kansas, regardless of how attractive or qualified their candidates are. And the fact that the Democratic Party in Kansas did not run a Senate candidate last time, didn't even run a candidate, speaks to that problem. Whether or not Orman does well or other candidates, it's months early, and we've made so many mistakes trying to predict elections weeks in advance, much less a year.
Yeah, but the logic is that Orman would pull from Democrats, and that would help Republicans.
Well, but he also has to pull 20% from Republicans and 23% or 75% of the 23% unaffiliated. That's that's great math
numbers,
by Steve,
right.
And that's whatever.
Ultimately,
but they do have a huge problem as between Orman and Kelly.
Ultimately, what we're doing is waiting to see who gets to lose to Chris Kobach.
Ron, you were the executive secretary or some title with the Kansas executive director of the Kansas Republican Party. So you have a pretty good sense for how Kansas Republicans are doing. Is Chris Kobach the nominee apparent, presumptive?
I don't think so. I think as long as you have a lieutenant governor who's going to be in the race as well. Now,
if the real governor ever gets his ambassadorial job.
Right. Well, and that would give Collier a leg up on that. But I think you're going to have a race, and I think it'll depend on how that race shapes up as to what the opportunity might be for a Democrat to win the race. But I don't see that happening.
Teresa, Kansas notwithstanding, is 2018 going to be the year for the woman candidate?
Well, they said that a few years back, and we didn't see that across the board. But I think because of so much movement that's taking place, and you're seeing it not just in Democratic women, but Republican women, and so I think that has a bigger chance of getting more women elected across the country, regardless of their party.
All right. In the popular Westport entertainment area, it's a street fight over a sidewalk, or more correctly, several sidewalks. The merchants, plagued by late-night weekend violence, want to privatize sidewalks for 5 hours, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., 2 nights a week, Friday and Saturday, and then authorities could screen patrons for concealed weapons. Merchants say this move would save lives. Religious, civil liberty, and African American activists claim privatizing would infringe on individual rights and lead to racial profiling. So, Ron, which side has the high ground in this battle?
Well, I think public safety has to be the high ground in general. I think that sometimes we run into this racial thing, and obviously there's potential for profiling, but then you look at it, you say 65 incidents of gun violence in Westport in less than a year, and something's got to be done to address it. And if the owners of that property agree to privatization, then why not?
I should mention, again, this is an issue the City Council is likely to consider after we have taped this program today. A council committee approved it yesterday and sent it on to the full council, and we're not sure what the council will do. But let me ask you the same question I asked Ron. Which side has the high ground in this battle?
I'm going to agree with Ron. I think it has to be that public safety issue, and I believe even Councilwoman Alicia Kennedy said the same thing.
Who is an African American.
Correct.
Right?
And I think that's important. So it does have to take that public safety issue when you have so many gun issues and other violence that's taking place, and other places across the country are doing this. Washington, D.C. did it with their entertainment district. You're seeing it in Maryland. You're seeing it across the board of them adopting policies that help kind of restrict that violence between specific hours when you know that there's an elevation of violence that takes place.
This is what happens when a legislature abdicates its responsibility when it comes to things like concealed carry.
Right.
You're left to business communities to step up and take measures like this. I agree with Ron. Public safety comes first, and absolutely should be. But this is what happens. This is the result of this broad, unhinged Second Amendment policy.
Let me take advantage of your...
Really?
Kansas kind of loop you in there.
I
pulled
saw
you
that.
in.
I'm
Reeled
not
you
on
in.
that part. No, I mean, concealed carry has nothing to do with it. It's the guys who carry because they want to, not necessarily that they have a permit.
This is a response to the proliferation of weapons, the lawful proliferation of weapons in cities like ours.
Proliferation of idiots is what it is.
Idiots with weapons.
Let me take advantage of your legal training, Patrick. We've had all sorts of discussions here about sidewalks versus streets. I kind of thought they were one and the same, but I know they're not. What is the legal distinction that we're talking about? Because this is sidewalks. The original plan was to privatize streets.
Right. So from a legal standpoint, this is top of my head. I don't know that there's necessarily a distinction. I think that the political viability of the streets issue when it came up earlier this year was a problem. And I think you had business owners who were concerned about it. You had civil rights groups who were concerned about it. There's less activity on a sidewalk. They're more controllable. So I think that's why we're seeing this measure.
Well, Patrick, if this only runs between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., what about people who show up earlier and are carrying weapons?
There are lots of holes in this plan, and I completely understand activists who, based on Kansas City's experience with Power and Light District, are hesitant to give shop owners rights to control who gets to walk up and down sidewalks and streets. But let me push back on this idea that it's somehow gun control and who owns guns. We have a homicide problem in this city, and it's because our local leaders aren't doing anything about it. We have a clearance rate of less than 50%. The problem is people don't fear. People don't fear the police. They don't fear the consequences of committing crimes.
Are there any other options for the merchants if for some reason the city council says you can't privatize the sidewalks? Anything else the merchants can do?
Well, I think there's public-private partnerships that can be looked at. I think there's other ways that they can address the particular issue. They can, I know some cities and so forth are actually looking at ways that they can control like the build environment around specific areas, like making sure bushes are trimmed, making sure lighting's adequate, are adequate, so that all those things are kind of being put into place across the country in various other districts.
So, Ron, are you saying these concerns about racial profiling are not legitimate concerns?
I think it's a straw man at this point because, I mean, it's about law enforcement. It's about me having a private business and I want to protect myself. And I don't care what color your skin is, you want to be able to do that. And so when we throw it out there that, is there a possibility there'll be profiling that takes place? Probably not. If you're saying it's going to be on these sidewalks this time of day, it's not the race that's going to be screened. It's going to be the individuals who are on the sidewalk at that time.
If you do one person at a time, it'd be a little hard.
It's actually probably less subject to racial profiling than other methods because you're talking about somebody walking through a metal detector,
exactly,
as opposed to being stopped and frisked.
Everybody's going to be there.
Let's say nothing gets done. What are the consequences?
Nothing gets. You mean there's no
privatization?
Well, I think they built into the ordinance a review after 6 months.
No, but I mean, what if council says no? You can't privatize the sidewalks.
Well, if I own a business in Westport, then I'm going to talk about a metal detector on the front of my bar, or the front of my restaurant. Right. And if that's the
is that legal? Can you do that?
Oh, certainly.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Westport is a
private business.
Westport is a SID. I mean, they're a community improvement district, so they have the ability to police themselves and to determine.
Why aren't they doing it now?
Why do they need to privatize sidewalks then?
Because of all the issues that are taking place, especially because it's escalated even more so than normal.
And this is going to be authorities who do the screening, police officials?
It depends on how they set it up, whether it's a private-public partnership, whether it's them policing.
It'll be paid for by the merchants, presumably, all the costs.
I don't know the details of that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. All right, time to head to the soapbox for Roast and Toast, where the Rockettes have 30 seconds each to elevate or devastate people and events in the news, and we start with Patrick.
I'm going to toast journalists this year with a long look back at the road that journalists have had to travel from the beginning of this year up to now. And I mean journalists of every stripe. I'm talking about on all parts of the spectrum. I think it's been a year where journalism has been in the crosshairs, and so I'll toast journalists today.
Other Patrick.
As of this morning, there were 145 homicides in Kansas City, the biggest number we've had in 20 years and the latest in a 3-year nation-leading spike. I understand people like to talk about airports and convention centers, but at least 140 families will be missing somebody at Christmas this year. And to add insult to injury, our mayor, who has more power over policing in Kansas City than anyone else in Missouri, has done nothing. So my roast today is for Mayor Sly James for doing nothing in the face of Kansas City's greatest public safety crisis in a generation.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Mayor. Ron?
I'm going to roast City Hall, Kansas City City Hall. And for this whole thing with the airport, I mean, we have Burns and Mac comes on board at first, they're going to do this deal, and then it's like, wait a minute, that's not fair, it's not right. Then we go through this whole process with Edgemoor, and we decide Edgemoor is going to be the one. Voters vote, we get what we're supposed to be getting, and all of a sudden, Edgemoor's gone. And no, we can't. The whole thing's a stain on the city, and it's a shame.
All right, Teresa.
Okay, I'm going to give a shout out to the state of Alabama and to specifically strong, brilliant black woman who said, no, we are not going to let Roy Moore represent us. I'm sure numerous other women across the country want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
I take it you're saying thank you.
Absolutely.
And finally, we say goodbye with 2 of the several cats who have enhanced our home during past holiday seasons. First of all, peering through the Christmas tree is Tom, one of the first cats we ever had. And then helping us select holiday cards a few years ago is Willie, whose full name was William of Orange Tabby, and whose taste was clearly impeccable, albeit somewhat self-centered. And that is Ruckus for this week and this year. We're away for the holidays until Thursday, January 4th at 7. Now for the Ruckettes and the crew, I'm Mike Shannon saying Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, thanks for watching, and to all a good night.
Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by gifts from Hush Blackwell, Bank of America, Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, Barbara and Peter Gattermeyer, and by viewers like you. Thank you.